Well, hey there guys, I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, the ZeldaEngine.net video mailbag where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question comes from Scott. Why do you think of all the Zelda games they could have brought back for a remake, they chose Four Swords? Well, I think it's kind of like the logical choice as far as which game is the most worthwhile making a remake of. I mean, I've discussed this before, but Majora's Mask, despite its flaws, like all the reasons that people have that they want the game made or remade, it's still like a really good game, and that really speaks for the entire Zelda series. Even the games I like the least, the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, they're still really great games. So it's not like there's a collection of games in the series that have any serious issues. Not that Four Swords necessarily had issues, but it also never really got any real exposure. And granted, this is probably less of a remake than Ocarina of Time 3D was, because they're not even changing a lot, they're just adding in some new extra stuff. So, all in all, it seems like the most logical choice. It didn't get any real exposure, a lot of people missed out on it, it was short, there was a lot of stuff they could have expanded on, so, it's the next logical step. Monkey Fights Qua asks, would it be okay for an 11-year-old to play Twilight Princess? Because I really want to get it, but my mom won't let me. You should probably just ask your mom. Jacob Welch asks, recent information tells us that the old man from the E3 2011 trailer is named Gaepora, which is clearly a combination of the name Gaepora. With this, it's pretty obvious that this is Gaepora's original form, and as we all know from one of the gossip stones, that Gaepora was a reincarnation of an ancient sage. So I once again ask, just with different reasoning, do you think we will see the original 6 sages in Skyward Sword? I can't change my answer too much on this. I really don't know what they're going to do with the storyline. I'm not very inclined to think that they're going to, cover the original sages, show them doing all their sagey things. I don't think that's going to be, a major part of the game. I'm also not inclined to think that, Gaepora, or whatever, how you pronounce his name, is going to be a, this ancient magical guy who's going to pop up. I think he's just going to kind of serve that purpose as the headmaster. And while he might serve a more mystical role a little later in the game, I don't think it's going to be this full-blown group of sages thing. Maybe we'll see. I think that's going to be kind of like the sort of thing that's going to happen afterwards, similar to how I think the enshrining of the Master Sword will happen after the game. I think those would be kind of related events, and I think they'll not be shown in-game. Link Z asks, why does everyone seem so unsure that Ghirahim is the main antagonist of Skyward Sword? It is assumed that there are more like him, but before the boss battle against him, he says, I am THE demon who presides over this land, inferring that he is the ruler of the land below. Well, I, among a lot of other people, did not think he was the villain of the game, or the main villain, right off the bat. And that includes before there was any confirmation about him having a tribe. I just am not convinced he's going to be the villain, and I think the fact that they've confirmed that he's trying to revive a master really clearly indicates that he's basically serving the same role as Zant in Twilight Princess. He's going to kind of be the main villain throughout most of the game, but then at a point he's going to get replaced by a bigger, badder villain for the final villain. As for the stuff about him saying that he's the demon who rules the surface, that is a good point, but he also has a line where he said, he says she almost fell into our hands, or something along those lines. If he was the leader, he would not state that in the plural. Leaders don't refer to the goals of their subordinates, they only refer to their own. They don't say, me and my subordinates want this. They just say, I want this and my subordinates do what I want. So, that was my main reason why it's just no way he's the villain. Hero of Time 11 asks, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on who Ghirahim's master is, and if you could elaborate on it. Well, obviously I don't have the answer. I had a newer idea that I was thinking of mentioning in an article. I'm not sure how that's going to go, or if I'm going to write that yet. But basically, I kind of am standing by my Dark Tribe theory on this, in that the leader of the Dark Tribe, who is the King of Darkness, will be the leader of Ghirahim's tribe, which I think is the Dark Tribe, and apparently he's probably going to be who Ghirahim is trying to revive. And in fact, people I've talked to have considered this to be kind of proof that my theory is correct. So ultimately, I think that's probably made an accurate assessment on that. Kelly asks, they said Skyward Sword is going to have 100 minutes or more of cutscenes. Even though cutscenes are fun, wouldn't it get a little boring with the length? they've pretty much stated that this game's just going to be big in general. So the only issue with cutscenes and how them being just too much, in my opinion at least, is when there's just too much all at once, with no break, they're not interesting enough, and there's not enough breaking them up so that you're actually playing a game, you're just watching a movie. So, with how much content they've kind of promised us in this game, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. I think there's going to be quite a lot to do between the story moments, and even within the story moments, lots of gameplay between cutscene sections, so I don't think it's going to be that bad. And keep in mind, that's not going to be all at once. These are going to be like, could easily be like a lot of, like, 30-second sections, you know, added up. So, I don't foresee it being that much of an issue. And I don't think Zelda's ever going to match the crazy cutscene capacity of games like Metal Gear Solid, which is infamous for long cutscenes. I don't think Zelda, not being a game or series about incredibly deep and complex storylines, is ever going to approach that. Shinigami Aran Williams asks, Skyward Sword has a second quest. What unique features might it have that would stand out from the past and future Zelda games? You know, I don't think that the second quest in this game is going to actually be that, like, crazy or original or have any terribly unique features, and I think it'd be better if it didn't. I mean, they mentioned it, I think, for the first time when they were in those Nintendo of America tweets, in reference to, a number of other features, like the boss challenges, and that were from Ocarina of Time 3D. They were some of the special add-ons to Ocarina of Time in that game. And, as such, I kind of expect they will be like in that game, and in that case, the Master Quest, or the second quest, or whatever, will be like Master's Quest in Ocarina of Time, where it's really just, you walking around in, alternate dungeons, harder game, double damage, things like that. And that's kind of what I expect from this as well. The Lost Hylian asks, I was wondering if you think that there will be a water dungeon or even a lake, like Lake Hylia in Skyward Sword. Kind of an odd question that I wouldn't normally answer, except I have a fairly static opinion on this. I definitely think Lake Hylia is going to be in the game, and I think the world map shows... they've showed pictures of the world map. It shows Skyloft in, like, the center, floating above everything, but below it shows these three huge land masses, and it's described these land areas as large hubs, which I am taking, stubborn maybe, to mean small overworlds that you enter specific entry points in, and they kind of link up within that small hub overworld area. And it's been clearly shown that they're going to have, you know, the provinces and stuff. So I expect these three areas are, you know, the Eldin, Faron, and Lanayru provinces. The biggest one is probably the Lanayru, and there will probably be Lake Hylia. As for Water Dungeon, not entirely sure, but they don't seem to be ditching the standard themes, forest, fire, water, so there probably will be. TeenGamer08 asks, what are your thoughts of the Windfish being in Skyward Sword? With Miyamoto's presentation, it became apparent that the thing you thought was the servant of the goddess is actually a huge furry boss. However, there was a scene where Link is flying around something that looks very much like a whale. Could this confirm your theory, and if so, what role will it play? Well, I don't think that's... I mean, the silhouette we saw before, it is pretty much that furry thing you described. And no, it can't be Lord Jabu Jabu. This new thing that they've shown is also pretty clearly not Lord Jabu Jabu. It looks evil. And as such, it can't really be the Windfish either. So it's probably just some unrelated whale monster that they're probably having a hilarious time just laughing the hell out at us, about this, about all these theories that we're coming up with about it. But there's no way there's going to be a Windfish. That doesn't make any sense in the confines of the storyline. That was a thing of A Link's Awakening anyway. And I guess that wasn't Lord Jabu Jabu either, though I still kind of anticipate something like him will appear. I mean, it just seems relevant. And as for that whale thing, I don't know what that is. Probably just some kind of crazy boss. Alright, last question. Martin Sanchez asks, I was wondering, could it be possible that the Link in Skyward Sword could be the hero shade from Twilight Princess? This is a theory that's been floating around a while, and it was first brought up because this Link is shown using some of the hidden skills that supposedly only the hero shade knows in Twilight Princess. And I think that's a crappy reason, no offense, for thinking that this is the same Link. However, there are other elements that support it, including that, well, the whole game is kind of basing itself off Twilight Princess themes. We have the Eldin volcano and whatnot. There's clearly a Twilight Princess influence, and it's almost as if they planned this game when they made Twilight Princess. I mean, it has a little bit of that vibe so far. So, I think it's very possible that that could be what they intended with this guy. I think he could be intended to be the same, you know, like, guy. But it's not really that certain, and we're just going to have to see when the game comes out. Alright guys, that's it for this time. Be sure to send your questions to the contact page in the description, and I'll see you guys later.